Okay, for this page, we are going to be dealing with being given a graph and having to figure out all these missing pieces: slope, y-intercept, and our equation. So one important thing to keep in mind, and I'm going to write this just over here on the side, is that our slope, which is m, is our rise over our run. Okay. When we have a positive, when we go up for our rise, and we have a negative when we go down. We have a positive when we go right for our run, and a negative when we go left. Okay, so those are things we want to keep in mind. So if we look at our graph, we're going to have stuff marked for us. On here we can see that we have these 4 points very clearly marked. The y-intercept is indicated here, so we can go ahead and we can plug that in. It's the point 0, -2. So that means our b is -2. For our slope, we're asking ourselves, how do we move from this point to this point? Okay, so if I were to count, I do my rise first, from here to here, because you read a graph like you read a book, left to right. So I go down. Because I went down, it's a negative. So I went down 3. I went over 1, and I went to the right, so it's positive. So when I write my slope, it's -3 over +1, which just gives me a total of -3. Now I could have picked any 2 points on my graph to figure this out. Okay, if I had picked, let's say, this point, and I wanted to get all the way down to this point over here, that means I went down 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I went over 2, and it was right 2. So if I had used those, it would be down 6, right 2, but that still gives me -3. So either way, I still get the same answer. It doesn't matter which points I used. So I'm going to write my slope is -3. We are reminded of our slope-intercept form here, which is what we talked about last week. So I'm going to fill in everything I know. -3x minus 2. Okay, this is a -2 because it was a -2. All right, let's look at the next one. Right here where it touches the y-axis, that's our y-intercept. So we're going to fill that in right here, 0, -1, which means b is -1. And I can pick 2 points on my graph. I'm going to go from here to here. I go up, so that's a +1, and I go over 2. So again, it was up 1 over 2, so 1/2. If I wanted to pick different points on my graph, let's say I picked this point and I traveled over here to this point, I went up 2 and I went right 4. So 2 over 4 still gives me 1/2. Now, with your calculators, if you weren't sure about this fraction, you can type the fraction into your calculator. This is your fraction button right here. So I typed 2, then ABC 4, and if I hit equals, it gives me my simplified fraction. Okay. So my slope is 1/2, and my equation is going to be y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Now, something else to keep in mind. If I read my graph backwards, let's say I went from this point to this point and I went backwards. If I did that, I'm going down 1 and left 2, down 1 and left 2. A negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. So I still get the same answer. So even if I messed that up and went to the left, it's fine. I get the same answer. Okay. All right, next. Our section here says writing linear equations from key information. So it's all going to depend on what we're given. Okay, in this first section, we're given our slope and we're given our y-intercept. So we can just write those down and we can fill those in our equation. because remember y equals mx plus b. So we're just filling in those important values. All right, for the next one, our slope is -2, our y-intercept is 6, so we're filling in our important values, -2x plus 6. Okay, our last question on this page gives us some different information. So this is a different type of problem. Okay, our slope is 2, so we definitely know that. But now we don't know our y-intercept. They gave us a different point. So in order to do this, we have to think about what this point means. This point is telling us an x and a y value. Okay, I know that y equals mx plus b. If I fill in everything I know, y is 8, m is 2, x is 2, and b is what I don't know, I can use my equation skills to help me figure out b. First, I'm going to multiply the 2 and 2 together, and then in order to isolate b, I'd have to get rid of this 4. Since it's a positive 4, I'm going to subtract 4 on each side. When I subtract 4 on each side, these cancel out, and I'm just left with b on the right. So I get that b is 4. So when I go to finish my equation, I'm going to have a plus 4. Okay. Let's look at the next page. Okay. Similar problem here. We have a slope of 1. So I'm going to fill that in. That means I know I have a y equals 1x. So if I have y equals mx plus b, this is x, this is y. So 9 is equal to 1 times 3 plus b. First step is going to be to multiply. Next step is going to be to get the b by itself by subtracting 3. This gives me 6 is equal to b. Y-intercept is 6, so I end my equation with plus 6. Alright, now number 7, we haven't done one like this. This problem we're going to need our slope formula. If you don't know your slope formula, you're going to want to write this down. Okay, to figure out a slope between 2 points, this is the equation we're going to use. Okay, the 2's and the 1's that are down here just mean from the first point and from the second point. So this is our first point, so those are our x1 and y1's. This is our second point, so those are our x2's and y2's. So when I calculate my slope, y2, which is 4, minus y1, which is 0, over x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3. So I have a subtraction problem in the top. For that subtraction problem, I get 4, and I have a subtraction problem in the bottom. I get 2. Now I have 4 over 2. The fraction bar means divide. So 4 divided by 2 gives me a positive 2. I could either write that as 2 over 1 or just 2. Okay, so we figured out our slope. Now, y-intercept, I could either use the x and y from this point or the x and y from this point. It's my decision. I get to pick. I usually just use the one from the first point. So I'm going to say 0 is equal to 2 times 3 plus b. So 0 is equal to 6 plus b. If I want to get b by itself, I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides, and I get negative 6 is b. So negative 6, y equals 2x minus 6. Okay, for my next problem, number 8, same kind of thing. We've got x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to use my slope formula first. Okay, remember this is our formula. We subtract the y's on the top, so 5 minus 1 over 6 minus 2. 5 minus 1 gives me 4, 6 minus 2 gives me 4. 4 over 4 is going to simplify to 1 over 1, which is just 1. So my slope is 1. When I use my formula, y equals mx plus b, I'm going to use the values from my first point. 1 is equal to 1 times 2 plus b. This 1 came from right here. This 1 came from my slope. And this 2 came from this point. So I multiply. I isolate b by subtracting the 2. And I get negative 1 is b. So y equals 1x minus 1. Okay. Next, number 9, it says our y-intercept is negative 3. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in right here. It goes through the point, and so they're giving us an x and a y. So we can do this a couple different ways. Okay, so think about what we know. Six is our y. We don't know our m. Our 3 is our x. And our y-intercept is b. So let me go ahead and, I don't know why I wrote plus negative. I'm going to rewrite that as just minus 3. Means the same thing. When I multiply right here, I'm going to get 3m. Usually we write the number and then the letter. So if I wanted to get m alone, my steps would be add 3. So I've got 9 equals 3m. And to finish getting m by itself, I would divide by 3. So now I've got 3 equals m. 3 is my slope, so now I have everything I need. 3x and minus 3.